Hello everyone, it is the me, Game Penguin 21, and today, oh boy, I knew I was going to have to talk about something this week, and this is one of those times where a video just kind of falls into your laps due to various news outlets talking about it. Now, obviously, this is about Helldivers 2, but I might sound a little bit different today. That's because I got a new microphone, and this new microphone is probably a bit better and probably is going to make my voice sound a bit more crisper and more true to life, I guess, so congratulations to me. And congratulations to you, so I'm not bleeding out your ears. This will also make it so that way I have to do less audio editing, I think, overall. But again, you don't want to hear me rant about a microphone. You want to see me talk about salty people trying to, defend a corporation for whatever reason. So what happened to Helldivers 2 today? Well, Helldivers 2 decided to launch out an update, and in this update, there is now account linking, which will be a mandatory PSN account linkage to the actual game. This was originally temporary due to the whole influx of players and stuff, but now they're starting to crack down on it, and people are not happy. Now, to my personal opinion on this, I think that's just stupid because, yeah, certainly the account linking itself isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it just, this is so far after launch that you really should have just left it as is, just because I'm not probably going to play the game now because I don't want to link an account because I don't, one, have a PSN account, or two, really care to make one because of, well, reasons that we'll get into. But of course, before we have to continue on with the video, I have to do the shill bit. Please like, comment, favorite, and subscribe, obviously, to push me through the algorithm so I can get more subscribers, so I can hit that 1K milestone by the end of the year. It would be awesome for you to do so. Please, thank you, and I love you for doing so. Next up, if you like any of the music and stuff that I produce, or any of the things that I talk about, or any of the other things, or want to follow me on social media, links down in the description below. I do stream on Twitch mostly on weekends, but you're going to have to follow me over on the Twitch to really get a sense of my schedule, because I don't post it around because I'm stupid. But in that case, let's get started. Starting, of course, off with the official Helldivers 2 Twitter, which actually posted out this as well, talking about the important PC announcement here. This is also available on Steam. I'm not going to read out the whole thing, but it's just basically saying, hey, you're going to need to now have an account, and here's how you can go and do that moving forward, or you're effectively not going to be able to play the game. I don't blame the devs for this. I blame Sony for this, because we'll get into that in a bit. But we're going to start off, of course, with May Be Crazy here with the devs have been nothing but fantastic for this game. All these people are doing is reaffirming how much a bunch of crybabies I think, quote-unquote, gamers are. Holy crap, what an inconvenience for you all. For you. And for a lot of people, it actually is, because PSN isn't available everywhere. And this effectively makes it so you don't have access to that. And again, PSN isn't the most secure thing as well. And again, they've been hacked multiple times, but Crazy wasn't the only one to actually have this sentiment. There was another one called Sir Enigma here that basically says, between the Stellar Blade debacle, which was insanely blown out of proportion, gamers sound like entitled little brats. And if you're going to seriously, advocate for, say, Stellar Blade censorship as well, or video game or art censorship, you don't know or understand the controversies and as to what the hell is happening with the actual art form of video games and stuff like that. And I know I talk about video games as if they're art and stuff, which they technically are, but to some people they aren't. Look, if you don't understand what's going on and are going to basically say, oh, it was insanely blown out of proportion because of, well, they advertised uncensored, unfiltered gameplay and, basically made it so that way all of this was like the way that we will be doing it, and then they actively censored the game by removing gore, removing other parts of the game that actually made it not as visually interesting. You don't understand what the hell you're talking about. But next up, we have Japan Hates Xbox here with a sorry PC beggars, this isn't your game at the end of the day. You're just dead weight who came along for the ride. Make a PSN and stop crying, you aren't entitled jack shit from Sony. I love this because I can literally throw this entire thing back in your face saying you're also not entitled to jack shit from Sony. And it is also not your fucking game at the end of the day. It's never your game. It was supposed to be, it's Sony's game, right? You don't own this game. You don't own the company that makes the game and stuff. And saying that the PC guys are dead weight when we make up about 60% of the total player base, yeah, certainly that's dead weight right there. Just hack off like half your body pretty much and, see how the game survives then. Just kind of makes sense to me. And then following that up with Xander, who has a very similar sentiment with I have to link an account that takes barely a minute to do. Wah. And, again, completely missing the fucking point. It never was bad that you had to link an account to this actual game because the people that would are already doing it. But the fact that it was optional, the fact that it was optional actually meant that it could reach a wider audience, which I don't understand why people don't get that, right? PSN is not available everywhere. It's only available in around 69-ish countries. So obviously, 69 countries versus the amount of countries in the world, yeah, no, that is not a lot because there's around 100 plus countries-ish that that I don't think actually have it. There's places in Egypt that don't have it, and it's the same talking points that people bring up over and over again. You probably heard it way too much for this. But then we have Oliver Draco here who just completely misses the point again, but there's an explanation they wanted to do, but that was a response to this. So he basically asked the question of the Helldivers 2 backlash seems fake. Steam players need a Microsoft account to play Sea of Thieves, and no one batted an eye. And I don't really need to do a response to this. I just need to kind of read out Caramel Kadeki's response, or Edrunner's response here. He basically kind of breaks it down in a better manner than I probably can, saying, you're completely missing the point. Not surprised, though, since you're making this a console war issue, which it's not. The point is not that a PSN account is required to play. The point is the game has been out for a few months already, and now all of a sudden it is required to play. Not everyone wants Sony to have their data, name, email, region, date of birth, etc., which they ask for, and to force it months after release is extortion, pretty much. Oh, you want to play this game that you paid for and have been playing for months, but you don't want to make a PSN account? Sucks to be you. You can't play our game anymore. If you can't see how that's an issue, that's on you. Sea of Thieves started on the Microsoft Store, and once it came to Steam, it always had the Microsoft account requirement, so obviously people aren't going to complain about that. Because you needed the Microsoft account at launch, it didn't create as much backlash to it. It's like saying that because Sea of Thieves didn't have it, or Minecraft didn't need the Xbox or Microsoft account at the beginning, then they made it. It's like it's a different thing in that context because it was two different games and there's still two different versions of like Java and the Bedrock edition. But the whole point of this is the fact that it is going to lock people out who don't want to make another account to link to Steam, because people don't like that. Look at Uplay, look at Origin, look at fucking everything else. It is not good to link accounts sometimes because people just don't want to do that. It just sucks. But then of course we have Nicola here with a couple of pretty banger ass tweets here. Starting off, of course, with they don't care if it's free. They don't care if it wasn't there at launch. It was. No, it wasn't, because, again, it was a temporary grace period because of technical issues, apparently. And they don't care if someone in Tasmania can't make it. I actually, don't care either way anymore because since they're going to make this anyway, saying they simply don't want to make it. It's capacious entitlement, disgusting behind virtuous outcry. Look, it's not fair at all to the player to do it. If you're defending this, you are defending the corporation controlling you, essentially. It's not fair if it like, again, we don't care if it's free. We don't care if it wasn't at launch, apparently. We don't care if it wasn't in Tasmania. When people actively do care, like, they can't link their accounts, they can't do this, they can't do that. It literally, it makes it like the step fucking harder to do. It's not that it's not But basically, Nicola comes out and gives the same thing of Sea of Thieves required a Microsoft account to play with PlayStation guys thinking that it was cool. And Helldivers 2 requires a PSN account to play with PC gamers basically crying about it. And I can literally fucking just throw this back at you. Like, you said that PC and like day and date for PlayStation was a bad idea, and yet this game that was super successful is now going to tank in sales because of the fact that you need a PSN requirement. It's not fair to the consumer to do this, especially months after launch once Sony has taken all the money and stuff. It's definitely not fair. But of course, there's also people out there who are still trying to defend this, and of course, Nicola is totally not a PlayStation guy. So, whatever. Next up, we have Bootis Lover over here with I Hate Review Bombing. And then someone comes back with a Shadow Phoenix and says that I love democracy. Both talking about, well, the reviews of this game from, of course, Retro here, saying that people are not happy with the mandatory PSN connection. I've been seeing a lot of people saying the PSN isn't available in their country, and this change will make it so that they cannot play. A developer from Arrowhead has addressed this change is forced by Sony and not Arrowhead. And again, we can get into that later in the video. But of course, taking a look at the Commander Carl thing that someone retweeted towards the beginning of this video, saying that making players tether their Steam accounts to PlayStation Network is just to keep playing a game they've enjoyed for months is definitely not going to be a hit with fans. Hashtag Helldivers 2. And as you can see by the reviews here, it has now tanked in sales. And I think that I don't even need to make a joke here, because Tazard Nicholas the Lit Rovanov, that is not how you pronounce that name, I completely butchered it, I am sorry, said, that's not a brag that you think that it is. Actually, wait, you know what? In fact, it is. Your game is one of the few games on Steam that has been currently this quickly downrated in the history of the platform. Good job. Pat yourself on the back, champ. Now, I think that if I were to list off a couple of other games that were like this badly received on Steam, other than, of course, scam games, that would be Overwatch 2, which received overwhelmingly negative reviews immediately upon its release on Steam, and VR Chat, which was a kind of underground game, and the reason why it was like downgraded to an overwhelmingly negative to begin with was because of the fact that they had an anti-cheat, which kind of broke a lot of the mods and stuff, which, again, it's kind of similar to this situation where it tanked it for a long, long time, but I don't think that this one is going to go away for a while because it's a pretty big game and people now can't access the game at all. And it might remain as one of those ones where you really shouldn't do it. But next up, we've got Minxie here with a how many times was Sony hacked last year? What about the countries that don't have access to a PSN account? Why should I link a game I've owned on Steam all of a sudden to a PSN account I've never made? Sony was with Shift Up and now Arrowhead frowny face. And that's a big sentiment that a lot of people are talking about here. It's not the fact that you have to link the account to begin with. It's the fact that not only was this not a requirement because they said that they would ask for it, but they're now changing and trying to, deviate and make it so that way they always sort of had this to cover their tracks legally. And that fucking sucks because, again, they really should just make it an optional thing because at the end of the day, they're making more money by making it an optional linkage rather than not. And they might be looking to make their own launcher on the computer, which a lot of people are going to be very happy with. Not really, because you can hear the sarcasm in my voice, but it is just so fucking weird here. But to kind of go off of that hacking accusation from earlier, we have Raven, who managed to get this not recommended review on Steam, which I'm not going to go over the whole thing. You can pause the video here if you want to see it more, but this is essentially a lot of, or pretty much most of the major hacks that Sony has supposedly had, starting from April 2011 all the way up to October 2023. And yes, that is 2023 of last year when Sony notifies employees of the data leak, and I think that was one that I talked about where they were talking about things like the stuff from the dev editions of Spider-Man 2, as well as the entirety of the Wolverine demo practically leaked on the internet. So, yeah, absolutely. I trust PlayStation with my personal data and stuff, even though they've been hacked as early as last year, which is ridiculous. I don't know if I've ever heard of a Microsoft being hacked. They might have been hacked at some point, but they just don't seem to either post it or anything about that. It's just so very weird to me that people are still defending this for even after seeing the amount of hacks and times that Sony has been in the news because of hacking. But of course, one other person who is someone that I actually follow and respect a lot is Pirate Software, who says the following: "Not happening. Removing access from Steam players unless they have to make a PSN account and link it months after release is absurd. Review changed to negative, and I have filed for a refund." Now, this is also one of the interesting notions that a lot of people have been tossing around, is like going and following it for a refund, because you actively can't play those games if they still require this PSN account. I still believe that making it an optional thing is fine, because at the end of the day, it's nice to have that as an option, and like since the cross-play and cross-progression don't seem to be available for PlayStation or for the PSN and for the PC version versus the PlayStation version, like there's no reason to link the account unless you maybe want the trophies. But at that point, like, there should be cross progression anyway. But that's so fucking stupid to people, and that'd be so stupid to me because I don't have a PlayStation account. I'm not gonna make a PlayStation account, and people again are like this person here, where Matt says, "Now this is where Valve should step in and offer a no questions asked full refund regardless of time played for anyone who was purchased prior to this announcement. Dropping this mandatory requirement way after launch is scummy. If it's not already, it should be illegal." And I tend to agree. It's maybe not the illegal part, but it should definitely, like, Valve should step in at this point and just give refunds to those people who actively can't, at least in those countries where they can't make a PSN account, or just, make a refund for it. But at the end of the day, they've already kind of made their money and they're kind of walking off with it, which sucks at the end of the day, but like, what can you really do? But there was also one of these interesting portions here where this person's responding to someone that says, when PC gamers ignore the fact PSN costs a lot to maintain, hence the cost to the consumer, which to some aspect is correct, where PSN and like Xbox does actually require servers and stuff to run their own network, but not like the internet network for like other stuff. It's just like the party chat systems and things like that, which I guess makes sense. But Blue here then responds with, "You heard it here first, folks. It costs money to maintain the PSN servers, even though Valve's been doing it with no cost to the consumer since inception," which is also kind of true. Like literally the funding and stuff of the games has not really passed on those like servers and stuff to the consumer. And yeah, certainly those sorts of things like exist because they take percentages of it, and they also sold and made games. But Valve hasn't made a game in a while, and the biggest reason why they're able to maintain these servers for specific stuff is because some people take and buy dedicated and rent dedicated servers in them. So yeah, obviously it costs money to run servers, but you know what? Like, what's the difference between PSN and Valve servers? Like, what's the difference? They're the same infrastructure, and yet why does one you have to play online? But yeah, next up we have, again, back to Retro. He retweets a community manager who basically just gives the response that I gave earlier, where this is a Sony decision, it's not ours. They don't have the details about the regions related issues yet. They're chasing Sony for more info, which, again, overall, like, this is like why I don't really blame Arrowhead or the devs here. Just the fact that this is here basically means that. But there's also people out there who are looking, because some of these people are saying, or at least one of the community managers was basically saying, "Oh, well, you should be able to blah 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 because like something else. I don't have the specifics of it, but that person probably should be fired. Just as a notion there. But now we have, of course, Moydog here, who says Tarkov torpedoes their goodwill of their community over pay-to-win microtransactions with Helldivers 2 Hold My Beer, where he's retweeting the pirate software tweet from earlier. And I find this interesting, again, that Helldivers is not the only game that torpedoed their actual community into the ground. It was also Helldivers 2, which I never would have expected. I really thought that Sony just would have wanted to take the money and walk away. I know that PSN would offer better security, even though the security on there is apparently kernel level, which is one of those ones where it has access to the computer and is actively scanning for stuff, which is like the highest level of security that you can get on, I think, anything really. So yeah, very interesting that more than one company has torpedoed their game into the fucking earth. And I think that we will call it there, actually, because I have a few more tweets here, but overall, it's literally just the exact same thing at the end of the day. Helldivers 2 made a pretty bad decision when trying to make these decisions, and it's one of those things where I even agree with Reforged Gaming, who basically said the exact same thing of like, this is not going to go over well with the PC community. Even though he was coming from a place of seemingly bad faith, his arguments were correct in that context. But again, I don't agree with everything that he says. It's just sometimes a broken clock is also right twice a day. So that was his right moment right there. It is just absurd to me how Sony can look at the successfulness and the big part of the game being an amazing, a big success, reaching countries that PlayStation hadn't reached before, and say, nah, we're gonna take the money and then we're gonna gut most of the player base, or gut half the player base, because that's just who we are. It's absurd. It's absurd to me. Or that would be the end of the video if it were not for the fact that there was a major update that happened whilst the recording and editing and other stuff of this video was happening. Due to my fucking schedule, I am very bad at keeping up with stuff like this. But I wanted to throw this update in here because, well, I need to talk about this. In any case, so yeah, to basically make a long story short, they're not going to go through with this, and all these guys here were proven bad. Now I'm going to have to collect some more interesting salt to kind of give you a quick little update, probably in the Thursday video, but I do have another video planned for that, so interesting. That's what happens. Anyway, if you like what it is that I do and want to support me in any way, shape, or form, links down to everything in the description below, socials and stuff like that. Please like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. We're looking to hit 1K subscribers by the end of this year. And, yeah. Thank you all so much for watching me rant into a microphone about Helldivers 2 completely butchering their entirety of the build they've built up with players. My name is Anthony, and